Hello Year 10, welcome to another Stimson video. This one is covering the last part of the Chapter 8 practice test. 20 questions 22 to 26, I think they are. 26, there we go, good. Okay, let's get into it. So, describe the graph of x squared plus y squared equals 64. Well, to tell you straight away without even looking, that means circle. And to show you exactly what it means, let's find Desmos. X squared plus y squared. Notice there's nothing on the display yet. Got to put a number that's equal to 64. There it is. Okay, so we've got a circle. I'll just zoom out a bit. Circle, confirm. Now we go back in. The second thing is that the centre of it is there at the origin. And the third thing is the radius going from the centre to the circumference is 8. So we have a circle. We have centre is the origin 0, 0, and the radius is 8. There you go, that's describing it. Okay, next one. Directly proportional or varies directly. Same thing. And the steps are the same for each question. So, what you do to start with, realise that direct proportional, you have first variable they say is d equals, and then this k idea, the link, times the second variable. That's where you start. Okay, so as this gets bigger, so does this, and that is the link between the two. Okay, so then we have to use these one of these sets. Any one will do. Any one of these sets to find out what k equals, because we can't do the rest of it until we find out the actual precise value of k, the link between the two. Don't worry about this constant of variation terminology. That just means it's the link between d and c. Okay, so we're going to use any set, so I'm going to use this set. 14 for d, 21 for c. K times 21. There we are. Now I've got everything known except k, so we just rearrange this. Divide by 21 will do it, which means this becomes a fraction, and that becomes just k. There's our value of k. K equals 14 over 21, and for the quick amongst you, you can simplify that because that's divided by 7 and says that 2/3. Same thing. Okay, so we have, pardon me, we have what k equals, 2/3. Then equation, all that is this with the k that we now know. So d equals 2/3 c. Okay, there. So then we use the equation to find c when d equals 30. So d equals 30. 30 equals 2/3 times c. So to simplify that, that's a multiply. We're going to do algebra, reverse the multiply by dividing by 2/3. Divide by 2/3. Divide by 2/3. Where's my calculator? 30 divided by 2/3. 2. That should equal more than 30. 45. Yep, very good. C equals 45, which would make sense because C along here is always bigger than the D. Yep, so D is 30, C is 45. Okay, find D this time when C is 57. Put this K in, that's the K, times 57. 2/3 times 57. Times 57. 38. Thank you. D equals 38. The steps with this one, I'm going to put it, if I get time, I'll come back and have a look at this one because that's the textbook question, but directly proportional or varies directly, you put this first and then use the values, any set of values to find out what K is. Then you can do the rest of it. Okay, I'll try and come back to that one. Okay, next one. Complete this table for y equals a half x squared. A half times x squared. All right. I'll go sort of slower than what I normally would, just to show you the process. So we're going to plug in the values for x in here, each one at a time, and see what we come up with. So first one, I'll do the easiest one, is 0. Half times 0 squared is always going to be 0. And I'll graph it in blue. That is 0, 0, which is our origin down here, 0, 0. Okay. Now half times 1 squared. Let's go 1/2 times 1 squared. Half. So when x is 1, y is a half. X is 1, so that's the next point, 1.5. 1 upper half. I'm going to put 2 in to find out what the y is. 2. Two squared. Half times 2 squared is 2. X is 2, y is 2. X is 2, y is 2. Okay, 3. A half times 3 squared. 9/2, 4.5, 4.5. So when x is 3, y is 4.5. 3, 4.5. Very good. Okay, let's go the other way now. -1. Now be careful when you get negatives because people can get wrong answers if you don't do it this way. To find a negative number squared, always put it inside the bracket. Bracket. Half times -1 inside the bracket squared is a half. Half. So when we've got x is -1, y is a half. -1, a half. Hopefully you can start seeing a pattern. -2 squared. You go back. Remember inside the bracket for negatives. 2. X is -2, y is 2. Hopefully the pattern is even more clear now. -2 and 2. And that one will go by the fact that it's all symmetrical. That's going to be a 4.5. -3, 4.5. There you go. And just join the dots. Not my best work, but there you go. Graph using the table of values and the calculator. Coordinates that says our parabola. Coordinates of the vertex is here. It's the origin 0, 0. And the graph of this one compares with the graph of y equals x squared. Well, the x squared one is much more steep. It'll do that. Okay, that's steeper or skinnier. So this one, what's it say? A graph that compare that one. This one, that one is shallower or fatter. Okay. 25. For a certain equation, t is inversely. So we've got the opposite of directly. We go back here. Inverse is your opposite sort of idea, where one gets bigger, the other one gets smaller. So we start with the inverse idea. First variable is t equals, this time as a fraction for inverse, k over s. And as always, we're going to find out what s is. To k, sorry, the link between the t and the s, so we can answer these other questions. Otherwise we're stuck. So inverse the fraction with k on top. So we're going to sub in s and t. T is 40. 40 equals k over 0.3. Now, to remove a fraction, you multiply by the denominator. So we're going to multiply by 0.3 to get what k is. 40 times 0.3. 12. Okay. So k equals 12. Now we can have that. We can put k 12 here instead of k. That's the equation. T equals 12 over s. And that's our k. Here, okay, so if that and that, so we've just dealt with that bit. Find t. So now this bit here. And we need to have the k to be able to do that. Find t when s equals 32. Okay. Now without k, it's impossible. 12 over s is 32. So just subbed in. T equals 12 over 32. Well, that can simplify. What's that? 4 goes into that. That's 3 over 8. There we go. Or, since we're using decimals here, 0.375. Same thing. Find s when t equals 8. Okay, so t is 8. That's quite big, so s is going to be, quite big too. And s is 32, t is only tiny. When t is huge, s will be, well, we'll see what happens. 12 over s. Yep. Okay, when you get to this one with the unknowns in the bottom, we just swap them around. S equals 12 over 8, which equals 1.5. Or the decimal version, 1.5. There we go. Graph y equals 2x squared minus 3. So we're going to need x's and y's. We'll go minus 3, minus 2, minus 1, 0. So when you see the word graph and there's nothing else, you really need the table of values. And that's going to be a parabola. Except, I know that, recognise that of course, but I'll get that in a second. In fact, I'll do it now. That's the y-intercept. I'll do it in blue. Minus 3. That's, I know for sure that's one of the points. That's this one. When x is 0, that's that point there. So I got one done. Okay, now 2x squared minus 3. So I'm going to go 1. Again, I'm going to go sort of slow. So 2 times x squared oops, minus 3, minus 1. That was x is 1, minus 1, minus 1, 1, minus 1. Okay, when x is 2, I want to go put in 2 here, and we get 5. 2 and 5. 2 and 5. And 3 won't even be on there because it'll be off, so I don't want to worry about that one. Minus 1. Remember when you're doing the minus values, put them in the brackets. Yep, minus 1. Minus 1, minus 1. Minus 1, minus 1, that's there. Minus 2 will be 5 because it's going symmetrical. Minus 2 and 5. Just to prove it, put in minus 2 here. Answer should be 5. There we go. So it'll come up the graph view, it'll do, oops, graph. When marking it, looking for not necessarily the accuracy of the drawing itself, it's where you get the points from. And that's basically where you get the marks from. These points that you use to plot it. If I was going by the drawing, I'd fail that one. But you get the points right, that's half the battle. You can see the person who's marking will see, oh yes, I know where the points are, where they're supposed to be, and it's a parabola, so that's all good. Very good, everyone. I'll try and go back, do this one quick, because this is related to this one. This is more in line. Well, they're both could be test questions. I'll just do this quick as I can. Varies directly. Same idea. Drop in temperature. We've got temperature and time. Well, I'm going to do this C for the temperature and M for the time. Minutes. Degrees Celsius and minutes. Varies directly. So the temperature varies directly with, I'm just using M for minutes and C for degrees Celsius. And then it gives you, this time it gives you one scenario only. This one we had 4 to pick from. This one we only got 1. That's okay. I only need 1. So we've got drop in temperature. Okay, so it drops 8 degrees. So temperature drop 8 equals K times the number of minutes, 5. So we're going to simplify that by dividing by 5. Divide by 5. So we really need to know what the K is. And you can't find K until you realise that this is the equation for directly varying. And that's the one for inverse. Okay, divide by 5. So 8 over 5 equals K. Or 1 3/5 or 1.6. 1.6 will do. 1.6 equals K. Just going to circle that because it's looking a bit messy. 1.6 equals K. Now we know that, we can do this. How long will it take to drop 10 degrees? Okay, so the temperature drop is 10 equals our K times the number of minutes. So once we use the scenario here and we found out what the link is, we can work out what this is. So I've got the 10 degree drop, there's our K. We don't know what the number of minutes is, all you do is divide by 1.6. Divide by 1.6 to simplify it. So 10 divided by 1.6 equals the number of minutes. Now that should be one of these. 10 divided by 1.6. 10 divided by 1.6, 6.25 minutes. There it is. Thank you. Have a good day.